We are a little bit later getting started than what we had hoped. So what we're going to start with, because it is about shift and the shifting market that we've been spending a lot of time talking about and everybody's been hearing about it. We're going to get everyone to do in about 30 seconds or less your name, how long you've been in the industry, and where you work, the areas that you work in. If you have a specialty as well. You go first.
Okay, my name is Grant Sprague and almost 15 years now. I know it's hard to tell, like, looks like I started when I was 20. And I don't really have a specific geographic area. I work mostly with repeat and referral out of my database, so, and it takes me everywhere.
Awesome.
I'm Melissa. I think everybody already knows me. Feel like I've been in the business since I was born. Yeah, grew up in the business. Licensed, I think now 13 years. Had my broker's license for about 6 years now, I think it is. We work, our team works in the HRM area.
Hey, I'm Chris Bray. I've been licensed here for 21 years and 4 years in Montreal. In the
Started as a baby.
in the 80s, actually, very different market then, but and I'm like Grant. I don't quite go everywhere, but it's mostly repeat referral business. So wherever it takes me, yeah.
And I'm Christine Chesson. We have a large team here. We cover all of Nova Scotia, so we're from Yarmouth all the way down to Sydney. And I've been in the business 25 collective years, so back in with my husband in 2004. But prior to that was in the business in the 1980s, believe it or not. We work everywhere in Nova Scotia and have always loved the business. It has provided me and my family, I'll say it's just me and Al, but it has provided us with many opportunities and has been very kind to us, I'll say. So.
Awesome, wonderful. Well, as you can tell, we have a wealth of knowledge here on the panel. So we're going to open it up to questions after they've shared a little bit. But the first question is, how has the market shifted in the past few months or years, and how have you found that that's affected your business? So we'll try to keep the answers to a couple of minutes so that we do leave a little bit of time at the end. And that I think that will be really helpful for everyone in the room and as well who's joining us online. All right, so Grant, you started last time. Maybe we'll get Melissa to start and we'll move down.
How has the market shifted in the past few months?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good question. Well, I think it's shifted like this way and then that way. And then it's like, really, there's no way to explain it. I mean, obviously we've been through, COVID and all of the other things, but so I don't even really have an explanation as to how it shifted, but I love it. I just thrive on a shifting market. I can't wait for it to happen. It's really exciting because for me, what happens is I see that there's a lot of people that don't bring their A game. And when that was awkward.
Because you didn't have the locks to do
I know, right?
Well, that's
Yeah.
great.
So I do. I enjoy shifting market. And I think it goes back to the reason is just because I'm always trying to learn new things. And I'm always trying to learn, how do you overcome this objection and that objection and practicing my presentations and dialogues and so on. And then that kind of shows up when you're in front of the client. And when the market is like so crazy busy that a house will sell just because it's on the market, that's easy. And when the market shifts and the house is sitting there and it's not, all of a sudden you need a little bit of skill to keep your client happy and to actually get the home sold. So that's why I really enjoy the shifting market. So yeah, I look forward to it.
Me too. Market of opportunity. I think that what I've been seeing is the market has shifted differently in different areas and different price points. It's very area dependent and very price point dependent. So it's all the more important right now to know your market. And so even if you use HRM as a broad example, within HRM, all the different areas are being affected by the shift differently. And then on top of that, even within one area, price point is very dependent on how things have shifted. So you can still see competing offers and offers over the list and all this like bully offers still happening. And then in other areas, other price points, that's not the case. You're now starting to see price reductions and things sit. Days on market have gone up. So I think that's how I've seen it right now. Is it's very area and price point dependent. And as far as how it's affected the business, I think it's all the more important now that you're having conversations with your clients and you're having those expectations conversations. Because there's a lot of noise out there now, especially in the media, about what's happening in the market and, you know, things are up, things are down, you know, all of this. So it's more important than ever that they have you as a resource and an expert to lean on, and that you're guiding through all of this change and helping them by setting the expectations. So it's really important to know your numbers in the area that you're working.
Yeah, I agree a lot with what they both said. I find there's, in some areas, the market is the same as it was last year. We just don't have the inventory.
Yes.
And that's a big problem. Therefore, you get the multiple offers. It's still crazy. I find what is sitting on the market is what's overpriced. So yeah, you need to know your market. You really need to do the research because otherwise you're almost better off, I think, when you sit with the client to, depending on the area, maybe even underprice it a little bit, because you're going to have a better chance of selling it quickly versus being too high and sitting. And there's nothing worse right now than a price reduction. So really getting to know your market, I think, is a key factor in this market anyway. Yeah.
And I agree with all of those previous things as well. I go, and I want to say something different than, you know, than what these folks have said, because I think it's important to look at every aspect. So yes, you know, the market has shifted somewhat and all of that, but I think markets have been shifting since the beginning of real estate, like 100 years ago or something. Organized real estate, it's up, it's down, it's sideways. It's been a little more extreme through, you know, the COVID years, last 2 years, and then now it's a little bit wonky, but we've always just put our heads down and worked through everything. Melissa, you said a point there about, you know, the market being, and I forget the word you used, but advantageous, you know, use it to your advantage. You know, we've never been so busy. March has been absolutely crazy. This March has been crazy, and we didn't know if it would or wouldn't. So I would say work through it. You know, work when you can, so you can play when you want to. And right now is the opportune time, not just through the spring market, but through this market that people see as bad. And I think the only other thing I'd say is, the one thing not to do is not to talk about how bad, you know, if the market's bad, if it's good, there's no listings, there is no, you know, there's listings, there's no listings, no buyers, you know, the interest rates are up, they're down. I mean, there's always something in the 25 years that I've been doing the business, and certainly the 30 years since my husband and I have been doing it as a team, you know, collectively. You know, there's always going to be something. So if you focus on that, what you focus on expands. So if you focus on, oh my God, where are the buyers, where are the listings, where are the, just go find it. We've always done really, really well, not only in what people call a bad market, but we've just done really well by putting our heads down and working. You know, you don't hear from us a lot, you don't see us a lot, but we put our heads down and we work. We find something to work at. So that would be my suggestion on how to work through a shift. Ignore it.
Yeah, yeah, and that really, Christine, leads right into the next question. You know, what advice do you have for agents who are either new to the industry or who are struggling to adapt to the 2023 market?
Yeah. Do you want me to jump in on that?
Yeah, if you want to kind of
Okay,
just
yeah,
continue
then
on
we
with
can go
that one,
backwards,
and then
yeah,
we can go
yeah.
back this way.
So here's what I think would work to those who are new to the industry, and sometimes even people who aren't so new, but you know, we're talking about new to the industry. I think that it might be a good option to join a team, and I'm not promoting, you know, my team here or any other team. I'm just saying it's good to join a team. You know, I teach 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and every time I start teaching, almost every day, I say to people, I don't know how people do it on their own. Now, we have a super support group here at Keller Williams. We're very blessed. I turned to Terry when we were on the chair there listening in the meeting. And I said, it's amazing. This brokerage has better training and more training than any other brokerage out there. There's no question. So, you know, we have that support, but for newcomers, join a team, and it doesn't have to be a big team. You know, maybe it's just one person that you're mentoring and working with. And you'll hook yourself into a seasoned agent or a seasoned group of agents, because it's a hard business to be in on your own. So that's the first thing I'd say. The second thing I'd say to new agents is keep your ego out of it. This business is not about ego. The moment you let your ego step into it, you're gonna, you know, put that ahead of the buyers, the sellers, all of that. Leave your ego out of it. It's a career, a job, you know, so attack it, if you will, from that point of view. And I'll tell you, the ego is what will get people every time. So check your ego at the door. And the third thing I'd say, and this is my last one, and I'll pass it over to you guys, is keep a good mindset. Listen to your leaders. They've been there, they've got the bloodiest knees in the room, they've fallen more times than you'll ever dream of, and they've gotten back up. The people who fall and don't get back up, they leave the industry. So if somebody's been in a long time or been in a short time doing a lot of stuff, you know, listen to what they're telling you. Block out the noise, block out the chatter, block out the negativity. So as a new agent, I think that's the worst thing, because you don't know who to reach out to. So find somebody, if it's a mentor or a team or somebody, and link into that person and make it work for you. But if there's any negativity or what I call just noise, just, you know, the stuff around that's not productive, get that out of your life. So those are my 3 suggestions for that.
Good suggestion.
I find one of the biggest things when you start, is you don't know where to start. The course does not prepare you to get out there in the real world. And when I took the course 21 years ago, and the office I was with, we didn't have the training you have today. I mean, I go back and I think, oh my gosh, if I would have had that 20 years ago. And I didn't know anybody. We were new here. So I just knocked on doors. That's what I did. I didn't know what else. And I told people I'm new. My very first listing, they went with me because and I was up against big listing agent, and I got the listing. And they basically said to me, we wanted to be known as the people that started you in your business. I've never forgot that. That was huge for me at the time. And I double-ended it to boot. I found the buyer. So it was a great way to start. But I mean, I was almost sick to my stomach knocking on that door. But people are amazing. So I think in the market that we have, and if you're new, don't be afraid to knock on doors. I mean, a lot of people don't like that, but it depends on your person. I'm a face-to-face. I do so much better if I can meet you in person and talk to you than the phone, or, you know, we all have our strengths, our weaknesses. But attend the trainings. Oh my gosh, you have so much. And then, you know, for someone that's been around as long as I have, you can't change me now. I've been around. Right? I know, but you can start it off. You can start it off properly. I never had that. So I just do my thing. But for you, I can start out and have all this amazing training, and everybody wants to help here.
Yeah.
Just eat it all up and just go and do. You'll be fine. if I could do it, anyone can do it, honestly, yeah.
I guess to add to what Chris has said and what Christine has said, I think it's really important whether you're on the team, on a team and have like the mentorship and support of like a team leader, a rainmaker, or you're an individual agent, find like that mentor or that buddy in the office or someone that you can have a dialogue with and some script practicing with. Because again, like starting out, when you have that and you're able to like run those things by another person when you're not in front of that stranger at the door or the stranger on the other end of the phone or at the open house or whatever it is, it really gives you the confidence and helps you know what to say and say the right thing at the right time. So I would highly recommend that. Highly recommend all of the training we have. You're going to find all kinds of different options and different types of training. And then the last thing is shifts happen. So, it's just the way it is. You'll see it's pretty typical. You'll look at a graph and the real estate cycle goes like this. Every 7 to 9 years we shift. It's just the way it is, like Christine said. So, be prepared for it and embrace it. There's so much opportunity in a shift, and market share you take in a shift, you keep. So just it's that whole like getting comfortable being uncomfortable kind of thing, and just kind of going right into it.
My turn.
Your turn.
Wow, these three hard acts to follow, really. So I don't have a lot to add to that. Yes, I do. So I wish I could go back to when I started, like hindsight's 2020, right? And every month, like just think about this, every 6 months, every quarter, whatever, every year that goes by, you're gonna look back and think, I wish I had done that, or I'm glad I did do that. And I think this is the time, if you're a new agent, new to the industry, or just sparking up your business again, like seriously, it's and you guys all touched on this, but like of course we have to play red light, green light with our finances. A really good place to go though is like, and we have this system in place. We've got Colin. Colin's a great resource. Like get a coach, like talk to a coach, get something here, like, or maybe it's a group coaching session that you get in. That's a very, if I had thought of it back years ago, that's exactly what I would have done. I had the opportunity, I've been called, hey, you should get a coach, and I didn't. And then a few years in, I did, and I was like, wow, that really made a difference, right? So that would be like, one piece of advice I could give. And if the finances aren't available, then of course, like there are the group sessions and what have you, but at the very least, take advantage of the training that we offer. Come in like it's free, right? The shift book, just for an example, right now, like what a tool. It's an amazing tool. The MREA book, there's a lot of people that have been here with our company for years and have never read it. I know people that are with other companies that have read it and they're like, man, that's amazing, and away they go, right? So it's a great tool. I'd say take advantage of the tools and resources. I know we kind of force them on people and say, hey, you should do this and should do that. I'm just saying from experience, I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I, dove deep into I've read the MRA book a few times now, and in the middle of reading the shift book again now. Yeah, that's my advice. It's free. Well, except you gotta buy the book. Almost free.
Once you buy the book, it's free.
You can borrow books.
You can, yeah, the
Yeah.
shelf right in the back. Just
Yeah.
Chris was saying we have a library, so right by the computer.
All those ones mentioned, they're gone.
Yeah.
And Audible, if you do
Yeah.
not have an Audible account, you can sign up for an Audible account and you get 2 or 3 free books.
Yeah.
You can download them.
You get one a month.
Yeah.
And a good hack is, if you really don't have the patience for the speed, you can just increase.
Yeah, you can change
You
that.
can change the speed. 1.3 is a good one.
I know, like, that's gonna be really bad.
For what Grant said though about like the MREA and Shift. When I was actually taking my real estate course, I had met with Grant beforehand. He was our TL then. And he gave me both of those books. And I actually was reading those books while I was getting licensed and I was like forming my game plan, how I was gonna get the real estate market. And I actually started with Christine and I just kind of came out the gates. And one of the biggest things that I took from that in a shifting market, what most of us agents that have been here for a long time are gonna forget to do is go back to the basics.
Yeah.
And that is picking up your phone and calling everybody. And after the pandemic, everybody is out of their buying patterns. Either their houses are not big enough, they need to work from home, they hate their husband, whatever it might be. Their buying cycles have changed, right? So pick up your phone and call them. And that was the biggest piece that I had taken out of the Shift book at the time was to, get out there and start making the calls. So as a new agent, I was making the phone calls, I was creating my database, I was getting into that. And, it was the best thing that I actually ever did.
Would you say that it gave you clarity on, because like when you're new, you're like, okay, what do I do? I keep hearing all these things. This is what I gotta do. No, I have to do that. No, I have to do this. Did it
The
give you some
biggest thing you need
clarity
to
on?
do is you need to get all of your people onto one place, which should be command since we have it. You need to get all of your people into one place.
201 of them.
And then
Yes.
once you have your 201 of them, you actually need to pick up the phone and call each one.
Yeah, make the connection a certain way, yeah.
And put a smart plan in place and do all of the things. yes.
I don't think it matters which you do. I think like those are all great ideas. I love those. But I don't think it matters as long as you're doing something, because I can guarantee you, if you're sitting at home on the couch, reclined, eating bonbons and watching Netflix, you're not gonna sell any houses. Like that's a guarantee.
I think-
That's 10 years you've been saying that.
I want a visual of that too.
Bonbons too.
It's always worked, right? So if you're, activity precedes success.
Yeah.
Activity precedes success. You have to do the activity, whatever the activity is.
Yeah.
So you've heard, books and door knocking and phone calling and, that you've heard all of that stuff. Now you got to go do it. And if you don't know where to start, you got to start somewhere. So pick something. Don't pick 20 things, pick something.
Right.
And as long as you're out there doing the do, right? You gotta do the do. If you're not doing the do, which is the activity, nothing's gonna happen. I can guarantee it.
I
So
forgot
when-
the third book, the one thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
the one thing.
Exactly.
One thing that works, but the activity, and if the activity is, okay, I'm gonna get up at 6 o'clock and I'm gonna read for a half an hour. You can, I don't wanna say judge, you can tell where people are going by the books they read. Right? Think about that. So if you're in an airplane, you look around, see what people are reading or now watching on their, on their phones or whatever, but you will know what they're doing and you will also know by the way they move. If somebody is dragging their feet and scuffling along, oh my goodness, like put a move on, go somewhere and do something, but don't sit back on your laurels. That's, I know that sounds, I'm more pointed, I think that, I'm not the stroking type, right? But you need to just get out and do the do, and I can't stress that enough, so.
So would you say that that's what would set successful agents apart?
Oh, for sure.
I
100%.
think we need to walk faster, and talk louder. That's what I think we need to do. Walk faster. I don't care where you're going. But people who, you look at people, you see they're always on the move, walk faster, talk faster, get it out and talk louder. Just let people know that you're in, that you're in the business by talking about. That doesn't mean being boisterous or anything. That just means
Or
having your,
obnoxious,
or
it just
obnoxious,
means- yeah.
let people hear who you are. So speak in a commanding.
And with authority.
With it.
Yeah.
Intention.
What about?
You
The
can't be, for a while I was a secret agent. It doesn't
Yes.
work. And I used to get very annoyed at my husband because he would tell everybody. And he still does it.
Yeah, he's
Like,
a
I
marketer.
still get annoyed, but I still get annoyed at him because I like to do things my way. But having said that, I've gotten a lot of business through him because he's
He's out there.
He's out there, yeah, he's a great promoter, and all of a sudden I've got
Part of
this,
his team.
yeah. So, yeah, you don't want to be secret agent,
Yeah.
you just gotta be out there and I, you know, even if you achieve something, I don't even like to put it on Facebook all the time, but you need to, right?
You
You
do,
need
yeah.
to, and so those are things that you kind of have to speak louder, walk faster.
Yeah,
Exactly.
act as if,
Yeah,
act as if.
you've already achieved or you've already won or yeah.
Yeah.
Because you put the intention out there, it'll find you.
Right.
It'll come, right? You attract.
Well,
the law
That
of
doesn't mean
attraction.
buy the fancy car.
Don't overspend.
No.
Don't go out and buy a fancy car, though, really. Really, you didn't mean that, right? Don't spend the money until you make it, right? That's what you meant.
No, I said that doesn't mean.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Melissa,
Yes, well, I got the cheap one, but I love it just to say.
Grant, Melissa, what would you say sets successful agents apart in a shifting market?
I think you have to find what works for you. And then you have to double down on it and focus on it. So whatever's working in your business, focus on it and take that to the next level, right? And get rid of all of the noise and all of the things that don't work. Yep. And just focus. Right? Do the do.
Yeah.
Focus, right?
And I think that would start with, don't judge your insides by other people's outsides.
Yes.
I'm hearing a lot of old laws here, right? But
Mhm.
it's true, like. When you, like, we're talking about how do we set ourselves apart from the competition and, or the other people, so we call it competition, sure. So, when you see like, and you're like, man. I wish I was doing that much business or whatever. I wouldn't even worry about that stuff, like forget it all, who cares, right? It doesn't matter, it really doesn't matter. If you do what you're supposed to do, don't stress about it. Like, don't panic, because it will happen. If you actually set aside like time block and set aside a certain amount of time every day to do your lead gen, and magically it actually does work. And if you consistently do that every day, you just set yourself apart from the competition. And then all you have to do is start, let's say you get really good at lead gen and you get a whole bunch of leads and you're not necessarily closing as many as you should. Now, the next thing you want to work on is your, how do I get the appointment? How do I get that appointment set? And then you're going on lots of appointments and you're not closing enough deals. Well, how am I going to, increase my close rate to get the contracts on convert, right? So it's really not, it's not rocket science. It's just getting out of your own head and taking the time, make your calls, and that will set you apart from everybody else. Except for your friends that are also doing that, but you don't care.
So it's important not to compare yourself with other people, because we all have that tendency to say, well, that person did 3 sales and that person did 6, and how come they got so far ahead? Everybody works at a different pace.
Yeah.
And if you compare yourself to other people, you will always compare your worst with their best, and that is not fair to you.
Yeah.
So don't compare yourself to other people. When you start to do that, you have to stop and say, that's them, this is me, and be kind to yourself. Do not compare yourself to other people. You will compare your worst with their best. So keep that in your mind when you think about that. I want to also tell you how to get an 8-day work week. So we basically work 7 days a week. We've been doing that for, 15 years now. I recently said I'm going to take Fridays off, and that didn't work too well, did Shelley? But I only worked 8 hours last Friday instead of 12, right? So I think everybody needs a day off, but the way to get an 8-day work week, and you do need a day off, right? So don't take that literally, but the way to do that is if you get up at 5 o'clock and you are ahead of everybody else who gets up at 8 o'clock, you have 3 hours extra every day. So you can read, you can look at the shift, read the shift books, read the one thing. 3 hours every day times 5 days in the week. That is 3 5s are 15, that's one extra day. Now you have an 8-day week. So when I talk about, we're talking on the coach, watching bonbons, all that, reading bonbons, all that. It is absolutely essential that no matter if you have anything to do or not, get up, get dressed for the day and get out the door.
Yeah.
Whatever getting out the door means to you. My husband Al used to, when he worked from our home office, it was just him as a single agent. He used to get up every single morning and he used to get in his car, go to Tim Hortons, get his coffee and bring it home. And then his mind shifted. Like, okay, now I'm back in my office. Now I'm in office mode. And if I mentioned anything about anything in the house among those hours, that was not, that was his work time. And we're the same today, I always say, get up, get dressed, get cute, and get out the door, right? Like, get up and get yourself professionally dressed for work. Do all your workout at 6 or 7 or whatever, get all that out of the way. And then get your day on the go, and then nothing else comes before that. So, my big thing is I want the beds made and the kitchen clean before I start my work day. And then I'm in my office I'm answering texts and stuff, but I'm in my office by 8:30 or 9 o'clock. Right? So get that, but if I slept till 8 and then tried to get work at 9, I wouldn't get all those other things done too. So it's a balance. So that's all.
Janice, can I just I'll tell you one quick story. A friend of ours with KW, Florida. He said to me, but a number of years ago, I think, biggest thing is can't be chased and shiny. This new idea has to sort of do everything. Big producer, very big producer. And the office that he's in is right next to a grocery store, much like Sobeys, they call it Publix. He doesn't buy grocery items. He goes to the grocery store twice a day. No jacket on down there or whatever, but he has his name tag on. And he told me one day, and I totally believe it. He said, I go in, even if I buy 2 things, I might not walk down the right aisle, I walk down a couple aisles. He said at last count, he had sold 40 homes to the employees at the grocery store. And he has his name tag on, and they've all gotten to know him. Well, probably he's gotten to know them, which is more important. And he talks to them all, sees a lot of customers there, a lot of them seniors, well, that's Florida seniors, but anyway, he talks to them. And he said, you're surprised how many of them are thinking about downsizing or this. They're nervous, they may not know someone that came here from Missouri or Michigan or Massachusetts, around the M states there. And so he has discussions, but he owns that grocery store. Like all of them that are there. And if it's young kids, he's nice to them. And all of a sudden, one of their parents call. So it's not the shiny nickel, it's something he's doing anyway, and he's maximizing that. And I did see him last time we were down. He's moved on to his bank. He's working the bank. And it sounds hokey. But he said, well, I sort of gotta go there anyway. He doesn't pay any bills online. He goes in and pays by check. And he gets to know that person, then he pays that bill by check and things like that. So he's established a neighborhood. And, there's 100 different ways of doing it, but there's a guy, simple. I'm not sure if he can really turn on a computer well, but he knows that.
But it's relationship for him and it's
Yeah.
consistency, right?
And he's doing good at it.
Consistency, time after time after time, right? Consistency multiplies. Consistency. And one of the things that we heard at family reunion was market share that you capture during a shift, you will never lose. Market share you lose during a shift, you will never gain back.
Yeah.
100%.
And that was like, wow, that's quite a strong statement.
Yeah, that's another thing too with our databases, right? Like if you've been in it for a while, and even if you haven't, if you're gonna go knock on doors, go knock on semi-detached house doors, right? Like it's a perfect opportunity right now with the way that our market has shifted the, 500 and above is seeming to slow down quite a bit, but then you've got, these little hot tamales here at these lower prices. These people here can actually make more money off of their house right now selling it, and then they can move up to something else.
Yeah.
So it's a really good
Mm.
opportunity to try to get 2 sales out of
Yeah,
one, right?
It is, yeah. So how do you communicate and manage client expectations in a shifting market? Particularly in terms of pricing, timeline, and panic or anxiety from the client? Or maybe it's your panic and anxiety.
So I'll start this one off. I think we should actually kind of get it in our heads that we're always in a shifting market. We really are, like seasonality. There's so many different, so many factors.
Yeah.
And if you set your business up that way and your focus and your mindset is.
Already.
It wasn't me. This.
But now it's
Yeah.
moving.
If you set your business up that way, then you're safe. You're building a moat around your business, right? And so communication, whether it's in a shift or not, clarity is power, another bold
Yeah.
law.
Yeah.
It's true. Always be clear, never keep anything from your client that's important, right? And always make sure that they understand that you have an open line of communication is key. When a lot of times I'll ask somebody when I'm listing the house or setting up a new buyer, I'll say, well, they'll mention something about they interviewed somebody else or they could have potentially hired someone else, and I'll ask, like, why didn't you, or what happened? Just to try to learn. I don't want to know names. I just want to learn so that I could get better at what I do. And one of the key things that I heard a lot is communication, lack of communication. A lot of times, like the sign goes on the lawn. And the agent, when that person was a lead, they were calling them like every 5 minutes, right? And looking in the living room window, hey, you're home. You see them, and then all of a sudden the sign was on the lawn and they never see them anymore. They have no idea who they were. And when they do see them again, their hair all fell out and it was like a year later or whatever, right? So I think that's important when it comes to all aspects, right? Just to make sure that you clearly communicate often and obviously, communicate everything.
Just
Right.
like
Yeah.
a marriage, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't
exactly.
communicate this. won't work.
It doesn't work, right?
And no one's gonna
Yeah.
complain about over communication. They're gonna complain about not communicating enough, but you
Yes.
can't over communicate, right? And especially, when we get back to the days when listings sat on the market over 100 days and you had to you didn't have a whole lot to tell them, right? But you
Right.
still need to communicate with them. You still need to set the expectation and, have those check-ins. So I think it's important that you really set the expectation from the very beginning and just communicate.
I think that is huge. That just that, if you got nothing else from that, I think communication, I think that's the biggest thing, yeah. I have 4 things and probably a little bit piggyback on. So number 1, be honest with your clients. Speak from your heart. Say, you know what? I don't know why we're not getting any, maybe price, maybe this. I don't know why we're not getting as many showings as we should. Let's sit down and talk about it. Be honest with them. And I think they know they just need to hear you say it, right? The second thing is do your research. So when you're dealing with either buyers or sellers, but certainly sellers, do your research. Because somebody going in, like if you're in competition for that listing, and listings are, a little bit tough to get sometimes. If you're going in for competition, you need to have your research done. Even if you don't get the listing, when you come out of there, when you leave there, they're gonna think, gee, she really knew her numbers. So if you go in there just saying, 3 bedrooms, yeah, it's a pretty nice house, I'd say 179, or whatever. So. Yes. Remembering that we work in Yarmouth, we work in Sydney, we work in Valley, and there's a lot of people still looking in that price range.
Yeah.
And so they can't buy in Halifax because nothing's under 500. but they can buy in those other areas. So we are dealing with those things. And we don't think anything is too small. We'll sell a piece of land, a mini home, you know, whatever it is. I could tell you my story about my mini home. I listed it for 52,000. Al went and did a CMA. We didn't get that one because they went with a friend in the business, but we listed one. She said, my sister's listing, we did $52,000 mini home. Then she said, oh, by the way, my boyfriend and I are buying one together. We sold him that. He sold his house. Then she sent us to her father for $500,000, you know, 8 years ago, which was huge. Then they sold that. We double ended it. We bought them into another house. They sold that a year later. And then the girl came to work with us. Our commission on that $52,000 mini home was over $300,000. Like when you add it all up.
Yeah.
So nothing is ever too small. Al and I still go and do, you know, list pieces of land, small cottages. We still do, right?
Churches.
Churches, we, you know, we do whatever it takes. So do your research, but appreciating your point,
Yeah.
not to, yeah.
Yeah.
So be honest, do your research. You can't, stay calm, I'd say, is the next thing.
Yeah.
So even if they're, I will tell you something, I think one of the most stressful things a person can do is buy or sell a house. Whether it goes smoothly
Yeah.
or it doesn't, it's very stressful. So if you add on top of that, you know, all of the stuff that happens, oh, the deal terminated, now we have another one, now we got 4 offers, now they pulled out, now they're, I mean, all that, for us, it's commonplace. But for a buyer or a seller, that is very stressful for them. And I think if you understand that, you need to stay calm, no matter if they're calling your names and it happens, throwing stuff at you, kicking you out of the house, you know, stay calm, because if you have them being upset and now you're upset, you know, you're the professional, you're supposed to be calm. So in that shifting market, they're gonna be stressed. Maybe we didn't price it quite right. Okay, why isn't it selling? The house down the street had 25 showings and 3 offers, and why hasn't mine done that? Well, let's just look at it. So that communication, which these folks have all been talking about, and then just staying calm, but bringing those numbers to them. So.
Pretty much the same. Communication and empathy. Oh my gosh, you gotta almost put yourself in their shoes, I think.
But not sympathy, don't do it for free.
No,
That's
never,
right.
never for free, but empathy. I think that's been one of my strengths in the business because I didn't really have the training. I just kind of fumbled along, but and I think that was a big part of my success, and most of my business now is just past clients and referral, and I think they come back to me for that reason. So,
And can I add to that, because I think you brought up a good point. So Grant has his success through humor. Obviously, we all love your humor,
Yes.
you know.
big teddy
Melissa,
bear.
yeah, and Melissa does her business, you know, through, she's got a lot on her plate with 280 agents, so she doesn't have time to, so she's kind of like that. And
My
then
tea
Chris,
comes out.
yeah, and then Chris does hers through, you know, she just exudes kindness, you know, that's her style. So there's all kinds of different styles. My style's a little bit different than, you know, than it's each other's, like you're each different. You need to pick your style.
Mhm.
And whatever is your strength, if you're a really super kind person, or if you're very patient, or if you're very straightforward, make that work for you.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have to be Chris or me or Melissa. You don't have to be any of us. You be who you are, but use that to your best, you know, backing yourself up with, you know, numbers and
Yes,
research
the
and
knowledge.
all the knowledge.
Yeah.
Back yourself up with that, but be you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
don't try to be somebody else.
Well said.
Mhm.
And just one other thing. I got away from it. Where are your name tags?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what Al just said. I mean, I remember standing in a Starbucks. I'd come from a meeting I had. And the gentleman behind me said, so how's the market? And I was deep in thought, what's he talking about? And then he looks at my. And I went, oh, the market. And then, you know, we started to talk and he said, yeah, we've been thinking blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, really? I said, have you had, anyway, I asked him if he had anybody come in, can I give him my card? I wasn't even home yet. He'd already emailed me. And from that one contact, I did 5 deals.
Nice.
Because they bought and sold a few times, they referred me to the sister, the brother, but, you know, and it was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That thing that I have stopped wearing.
Yes.
Yeah, start wearing it again. Oh my gosh, that brings business all the time.
You'll get 2 pieces of business a year from wearing your name tag.
Yeah.
2, it's a statistic.
Yeah.
You know, I'm big on name tags because we all dress casual.
Yes.
So when you need a police officer, you look for your uniform. When you need a nurse, you look for the scrubs or whatever. You know, people have uniforms. We don't have a uniform. Except Al, you have a uniform. It's usually black pants, white shirt. So that's what he wore today. I love uniforms. I love uniforms because you don't have to get up and think, what, the worst part of my day is taking that half an hour and putting stuff together.
Yeah, what am I gonna?
Like,
wear today?
I do it every day, but it's like, oh my God. So that's the worst. I loved when I was in another business, I wore a uniform because every day I get up and put that uniform on. And Al, I was always done that, black pants, white shirt. He has many of them, but you know, too many, but he puts that on every day and that's his uniform. He doesn't, so he's ready in 10 minutes, right? And so I know women take a little bit longer because of stuff, right? But you do not wear a uniform. So nobody is going to recognize you. They're not going to walk down the street and say, geez, you know, I've got someone else, I need a realtor. So if you have your tag on,
Mhm.
now they say, well, that's a realtor.
Yeah.
The worst thing is when you go up to a home and you're showing it, and there's people in front of you showing it. And you start talking to the people whom you think, or the person whom you think is the realtor, and that's the client. Now the realtor comes out of the house and says, what are you talking to my clients for? Leave them alone, and now you've ticked off somebody in the industry, so.
You put your hands on your name tag.
That's right. So, but wearing your name tag in our industry, I think, because we all dress casual, you know,
Yeah.
nobody wears, at one time in this business, you used to wear like, you know, a pantsuit or a
Yeah.
skirt suit or
Yes.
something. We don't do that anymore. That's not our society now. We're all dressed pretty casual. And I love that. It's more comfortable, all that, but you need to set yourself out and identify it. And that name tag, and thank you for mentioning that, is so important to wear.
Yeah.
So,
Can I just add something to that?
yes,
You're wearing it on the right side.
yes.
Most people don't. We grew up thinking that we put it over our hearts.
Yeah.
And you think when you go to shake somebody's hand, what do? You take the name tag away from them, so they can't see your name.
Yeah, because they're
So
looking
you
this way.
always wear it on your right hand side, because when you reach out, you're showing them your
Good
name.
good to know.
Good tip.
Yeah.
Thank
It's a really good tip, because I do wear black and white, and it's shooting there.
Mine on my right, yeah. Another note just about the name tags, we did just do an order of name tags, just sent out a message, multiple emails, I think it was in the last meeting. The order has gone in, but if you missed it, I think she could add more to it. Yours might come a little later than the rest, so if you haven't ordered a name tag and you want one, just reach out to Jess and she should be able to add to the order she's already placed.
And if you missed that, Nova takes up in Bears Road area, Bears Lake.
Yeah.
They do them once.
Yeah.
For about $13.
Pretty
Yeah.
expensive.
And have several. You don't
Yes.
need just one. I
Yes.
mean, as you get more successful, you can spend a little bit more, you know, money. Have several. I had this because I had forgotten to put it on and my other 2 badges were home. I reached in my wallet. I always in my wallet have my name tag and my pin, always in my wallet. So I never leave the house without my wallet. So even if I forgot my briefcase or my this or that, I always keep my pen. So I reached in here today because I know Shelley has hers on. And I said, oh my God, I hope I have a name tag with me because I try to set an example. So I reached in my wallet. And so I always have my name tag somewhere, right?
Sure, I left the house with it.
With it. Yeah. So don't be afraid to have a couple of something, you know,
Yeah.
a couple of
They're
shirts.
temporary batteries, as you can probably tell.
Yeah.
This panel has been brought to you by KW Name Tag Sales.
So one last question, and then we'll open it up for questions or comments that anybody might have. How have you adapted your mindset and skill set to succeed in a shifting market?
It's all about back to basics,
Mhm.
back to basics. The Shift Book Club was a fantastic thing. Thank you
Was.
for running that, because that got the dialogue back going for many of us and forced us all to revisit the shift, right?
Yeah.
The book and reread it and get back to those, 12 tactics in the shift. They're great basics to go back to. So it's all about going back to basics and having the mindset that a shift is a market of opportunity. It's
Yeah, instead of it being something scary and intimidating,
Mhm.
to kind of flip that.
not a
mindset on
negative,
its head.
it's positive.
I would say, just work, just keep working, whatever it is, get out the door, do your thing. Because the harder you work, the luckier you'll get. People say, oh, that person must be so lucky, that person sent a referral and that person, no, the harder I work, the luckier I get. There's no question. I don't mean I mean, say that to yourselves.
And the referrals and the repeats,
Mhm.
they come.
Yeah, they
You
do.
just gotta do the work first.
Yeah.
And then that's where you get the lucky,
Yes.
because you've done all that.
That's right.
For many years.
Yeah.
And then, yes,
Stay connected.
Yeah.
and
yeah,
And mindset is like, it's the most important aspect of the whole business, really, of your life in general. When you think about your personal life and everything, and it's a direct reflection of your attitude. And then, if you have the right attitude and the right mindset, then you're thinking the right way and you're gonna act the right way and do the right things. Not easy. We all know that,
Mhm.
right? And things are gonna happen. And you're gonna be like, get up in the morning and, hey, I got a great mindset today. And then something happens, you've got 2 flat tires and you miss an appointment, right? So and then if you just smile, it's all okay, right?
What are you drinking?
It's called happy water. And I think that's like one of the hardest things to really master, yet when you do, and know that it's not always going to be 100% perfect, but when you get the right mindset, great things will happen, really. That's all we got.
Yeah, of course, that's all I got.
You're like a whole lot more than that. You guys are an amazing wealth of knowledge and experience and just, and wanting to share, wanting to help. So thank you for being willing to do this. Very much appreciated. Let's open it up, and if anybody has any comments or questions.
One of the best things I've done with KW since joining, when I moved here from Toronto, every time I was staying for 15 years, but taking the Ignite course, I think it touches on so many different things for new agents who are intimidated about this market, that Ignite is such a great springboard. I wish I had that when I started.
So which ones?
Ignite,
Ignite.
and it's free.
Ignite,
That's a good point, Chris.
And it's free.
It's
Yeah.
right. I know when I joined, Valerie was our team leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was kind of told I had to show up. I don't know if it's encouraged now.
Yeah.
I showed up.
Yeah.
And I learned
Mhm.
15 years experience, so, I don't know what that scenario with Ignite is now.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been encouraged.
Yeah.
But you're right though, Terry, because it brings you back to the
Yeah.
basics, right? It brings you back to what you need to focus on in your business, not all the fluff.
I left a market where no one did open houses, because you didn't have to, you barely got the listing done, and you were selling it in Toronto, right?
Yeah.
And I come here, I've never done it. open house. I learned how to do one here.
I don't know of any other business that you can get into where you get as much help as you get for free. As real estate. I mean, any other business, you're gonna pay thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to start a business, and you really
Yeah.
don't know what you're doing.
We don't have to buy the inventory, we don't have to pay the rent.
I mean,
I know it really is.
right, when you think about it,
I think that's a color thing, that we rise above there,
yeah,
and I just,
Take advantage of it.
They're not getting the training we need.
Yeah.
no, but I
Yeah.
think people need to take advantage of it, sometimes because it's your own business and it doesn't cost you a lot, you kind of don't do the things you need to do.
Yeah.
And I think if you had a lot of money on the line, you would. So it's there, use it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to get complacent.
It is.
Can I just say something about open houses, like the shift has brought open houses back into the mix again, and. I was in the Calgary market for a long time, which is up, down, up, you know, it's a roller coaster. So, one thing when you're new with open houses, it's really good on Saturdays and Sundays to just go to them. Just pop into an open house, you can give the realtor your card, look around the house, because it creates, it's almost like it makes things happen. So when you're talking to your friends or people in your sphere of influence, you say, oh, I saw this really neat house. It's got, so you're talking, and then your friends start to think, oh, she really does know what she's talking about, because she's obviously going to see houses. And so it brings you into the market, and it gives you a chance to talk about houses in your community. And I just find it's a real spark. And then if you have the opportunity to do an open house with another agent, watch them, like just shadow them, and that, I think that when you're new, especially, that opens up a whole opportunity. And when the market shifts, it also lets you get to know the houses in your community again.
Yes.
Fresh.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of Ignite too.
It is, that is
Um,
part of Ignite.
yeah.
We used to always say you had to preview 5 houses.
Mhm.
Like between each session, and that was when it was, well, back then we were still doing agent tours, which was
Yeah.
starting to come back around now too. And open houses, so you're previewing your inventory, so you're getting to know your market.
I'd like to say one more thing. Thank you very much, everybody, for sticking around. I have to head out. I have a coaching call that I can't miss. 'Cause I'm in trouble. But thank you very much. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Grant.
Thank you.
See you.
That's great.
And reducing this in other markets, someone that we're involved with, he has a team and they do this. They have a whole program for open houses, but one of the most unique things is in an urban area like that. They deliver invitation sheets, and some information on hosts, and they drop it off to maybe, it's not a big thing, 20 homes. Just hi, have an open house, welcome to come by, even if you're not looking for a host. And
Yeah.
you do that, people in the neighborhood, they don't totally trust Tim Hortons stuff, I call it. They're getting the facts, they can come by, people, they may be thinking about doing something. The worst thing they're gonna do is not come, but they also think, well, that person's on the ball, look at them, drive
Yeah.
something off. You've touched maybe
You've made
20
an
people,
impression, yeah.
you know, and you're building something, especially if it's an area you're comfortable with. So I recommend that in a big way. We all have to sort of relearn how to do open house.
Yeah.
I know, we kind of stopped it for,
Yes.
what, 3 years?
Yeah. Well, in addition to the open houses, like going as a new agent and viewing them, but even as like a seasoned agent. When I'm out and I'm looking at houses, and I know the whole viewpoint world, everybody hates that word, but I actually like their tool. It's useful for one thing for me, when I'm out and I'm looking at houses with clients. I put a heart on every single one that I'm out looking at, so when it does actually sell, I get the notification that it's sold. But the other thing that I'm doing is I'm actually saying what I think that house is gonna sell for, and then I see how close I am to what that house is going to, did sell for. Because if we don't know our numbers in this market and we can't have those conversations like that. And we've physically been in them, we know what they look like, we can comment about that, especially if you're meeting with somebody and talking about listing their house, you can actually have those conversations. So I think that that's a really big one, is just practicing that valuation skill and then tracking it to see how close you are.
Know your market.
Kelly, here's another too that someone taught me, is if you're listing a house, you're doing an open house on it. And you just listed, if you look at some of the homes in the areas that just sold. And you look at the pictures. I can think of 2 right off the top. One, an RCMP guy painted the interior of the house, New York Rangers blue, Montreal Canadiens red. And someone called on a house that was being open house. And I said, yeah, that's a great house. I said, you know, there's one just like it. I don't know if you saw the pictures. with the New York Ranger blue and the Montreal Canadiens red. And the person said, geez, I had no idea you knew the market that good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's subliminal
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
If people like you, that helps a lot. Because if they don't like you, you're pretty much screwed. But if you can show that you've done, through your knowledge of the area, some of this stuff like that. It seems so hokey, but it gets in their head that you must really know that market. There's something there about it, so we have time now, for sure, we have. But we have, you know, the only things you don't sell are your time and your knowledge. They're not gonna buy because you wear a white shirt with a name tag on, that's not it. But time and knowledge, that's what you have. So if you can be as educated as you can about the street, about things like that, things that, well, geez, I should. This they should be talking to you.
Awesome.
If I can say something.
Yeah.
I don't think enough agents give enough attention to the relationships that we need to make with other agents either. You know, it's a lot easier to do business with somebody you're friendly with than it is with someone you don't know, or someone who's adversarial with you. And when you run into a problem, like I did recently, you know, I was lucky enough to have a real friendly agent on the other side who understood and
Yeah.
eliminated that problem for me. But they also tell you what they got coming up. You know, you get into a
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
I got this,
They want to work with you.
I got a fire in that
Absolutely.
area.
And sometimes
You know,
they will-
before.
They'll get their client they'll push them or encourage them to go in a direction. I've worked with that agent before, they're
Yeah.
really good to work with, right? If they're similar offers.
And just so you extend that,
Big factor.
it used to be easy 25 years ago because the real estate board used to bring us together a lot.
Yeah.
And for social events and whatever, we don't have that opportunity. So we have to make our own. Meet your friends, your agents, and make them friends so that even when you're passing them on a showing, you're going out, they're coming in, you get to say hi and it just builds that relationship.
One of the things I learned early on about negotiating was negotiations are built on relationships.
Yeah.
And if you don't have good relationships and friendly relationships with people that you're trying to negotiate with, it's a hard slog.
It's a very small
Right.
community here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Bad
it
relationship,
is.
Everybody knows it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, so true.
I have a conference call I have to be on.
Yes, no, that's that's okay.
I better go.
We, yeah, we have to do, Ignite next.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for staying, and thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, guys. That is amazing. Sorry.
See you.
Always learn something, right?
Oh.
So true. I love.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.